Feels a bit odd to call Scryer machinery old, but here we are in this day and age with the newfangled buffs to Croc scores, and would you look at that balance of power to start, man? Absolutely spectacular here. Sage going to be taking the Skaven against the Lizardmen, and let's see what he's got going with Clan Scryer here. Ikit the Claw, of course, leading the way. Double Chieftain on Bonebreaker. Very interesting choice. I like it quite a bit, actually. Got some Poison Wind Globes, Trusty Reliable, a couple of Eshin Triads in the flanks as well. Warp Grinders to freeze things in place. Some Rat Ogres and a front line of Cheap Chaff. And that's pretty much it. A couple of Plague Monks mixed in. Very nice anti-infantry option in case of mass Skinks. And we definitely do see some Skinks plus Croc scores here. 3 of each. Supported by some Chameleons here up front, yes, in the van, along with Mazdamundi Classic, big chunky boy on his Lizard, Bastildon, Rev Crystal, and Fire Leech Bolas, looks like. Very interesting, along with some Feral Cold ones kind of scattered around. Very Lizardmen build. I mean, if ever there was a Lizardmen build, this was one. Absolutely. Has everything you need, especially given the current sort of fabulousness of Croxagores with their newfangled buffs, especially when it comes to helping out Skinks, and specifically in this matchup, the extra fear does matter, I think, against the Skaven, but let's see as they charge on in. These little patches of woods will affect things, certainly. It's going to make the missiles on both sides have a tough time. The lizards, also, the big monsters like the Croxagores, will have a tough time fighting in the woods, although they certainly have no problem bulldozing those Skaven slaves in the front line. The Plague Monks quickly following up, and we're going to see in the center the Poison Winds start to unload, of course. They're going to do some really nice damage, but there's only the one here, and they are likely to get collapsed pretty quickly. But a little banishment from Mazdamundi as he clubs through some of these Skaven slaves. Nice job of them blocking and sort of bogging him down, distracting him momentarily, allowing the two chieftains on their Bonebreakers to get in here and start duking it out. They're decent enough brawlers, especially 2v1. They'll do a really cost-effective job against Mazdamundi here as the Bastildon gets distracted. One thing I do want to call attention to is Sage is going to be able to pretty consistently hit Mazdamundi with Warp Lightning, which is quite impressive, I have to say. Granted, Mazdamundi's attack animations are relatively slow. He's a pretty big target, so it is something that's it seems like you can do if you are sort of on your toes about it, but it also does require the Lizardman player to not dodge. I mean, granted, not like Mazdamundi's great at dodging. Anyway, again, his animations are super slow. His turn speed's not great at all, but taking a look around the rest of the battlefield here, Plague Monks plus Rat Ogres are able to combine to take down some Croc scores here, especially with the Triads in support, despite the Chameleon Skinks shooting them in the back there. Getting a tiny bit of cover from trees, not really much at all. Over here, similar, sort of Rat Ogres, Plague Monks, Triads, all teaming up, try and take down the Croc scores, which they're able to effectively do. So 2 units of Croc scores down the flanks, the one in the center also suffering here as this big blob of Feral Cold ones. I'm not really sure what they're got their attack order on exactly. Definitely attacking something here. Maybe it's the Triads, I don't know. Their pathing is going a little bit crazy right now, but anyway. Yeah, Skaven slaves rallying to the cause here, getting ready to eat some more poisoned blow darts with their faces. Very cost effectively, I might add. Again, the chieftains fighting here. Surprisingly, they haven't taken too much damage. They've actually been fairly tanky here. Only 40 melee defense, but still 60 attack, 450 weapon strength. That Guardian also, I guess, is a big component of that, of course. 15% physical resistance, as both of them do have it. Let's take a look at the rest of their ability kit they're rocking here. They've also got that Shield of Distraction, basically +5 extra melee defense, right? Debuffing enemies' melee attack at an area of effect. So overall, pretty good. Skaven Brew also for a potential one-time big damage boost. So I like that quite a bit. They're not too expensive either. We'll have to check their cost after the fact. But right now, Skaven are holding, despite what the balance power may have you would. Yeah, English is hard. Would have you think? May have you think? Anyway. There's this little Brass Orb. Nope, another banishment from Mazdamundi. Actually don't know. Did it even bring Brass Orb? Might not have. He did. Haven't seen it. Haven't really highlighted it. Maybe some of you guys have seen it, but Storm Demon as well here. Flensing Ruin, I'd imagine. No, just Death Frenzy, Warp Lightning, Howling Warp Gale. Very interesting. So no meta Flensing Ruin. And there's the Brass Orb. Doing some nice damage to the blob of Feral Cold ones, which is mostly what remains at this point. The Warp Lightning Definitely a target-rich environment. Just kind of hits everything. Might have even struck a Pterodon rider in the sky there. It gets own Doom Wheel also getting some nice zaps in here as the chieftains kind of make a little anvil for everything else to rear charge into. Plague Monks and Rat Ogres all with extra charge from the Frenzy, I'm sure. Well, maybe not for the Plague Monks. They're struggling in terms of their leadership, but yeah. Frenzy is potentially another mechanic they could look at reworking, I think. Would benefit a lot of factions if Frenzy was just a little bit more consistent, maybe less reliant on leadership. I don't know. You guys will have to know. Let me know what you think. Triads definitely need to be in there, though, fighting all these large targets and getting that beautiful Weeping Blade. Even though a lot of these units do AP anyway, all units have some amount of AP, unless they're ethereal, so yeah, debuffing the armor still does increase the damage to a degree of those units. That said, chieftains are definitely struggling right now, getting terrified away, getting smashed up by Mazdamundi and everything else. Triads eventually do filter in, and they're going to just cleave through what's left of the Croc scores and burst down everything else. It's all large armored targets pretty much at this point, so the Triads are definitely got their work cut out for them. Trying to avoid taking too much burst from the Fire Leech Bulls, I would imagine, as well, so yeah, they kind of peel back a little bit here, maybe get terrified. Nope. Just, again, it's kind of screwy pathing as they try and fight something, I'm not sure, but Fire Leech Bolas do have a decent amount of ammunition left, and that explosive damage is going to be decent against low armor, although I think they're actually targeted on Ikit right now, if I'm not mistaken. But another Brass Orb on the menu here for the Lizards Eat, as Terror also kicking in for them. Of course, the Doom Wheel providing some nice terror to get rid of some of these Lizard units as their leadership gets low, but both sides just absolutely brawling. Machines and scaly beasts just slapping against each other. Absolutely spectacular. Nice Warp Grinder catch there. Does get a few units. Yes, momentarily freezes the Bastildon, and more importantly, kind of just allows Sage to disengage here and start to pick his engagements a little bit more. And, you know, proc all these units. Charge bonus, right? Mutant Plague Monks, charge bonus 24 is very good for infantry. Something like Rat Ogres at 46. Ikit, of course, himself out of ammunition now at this point. Oof. Although he's certainly got Warp Lightning still in his back pocket, as we see that one just land on Mazdamundi. And he charges on in very heroically. And Mazdamundi almost at his healing cap. I've been very impressed considering how Sage didn't really have any... I guess he had, besides the Triads, no real anti-large armor-piercing missiles, also relatively low. The damage largely has come from the chieftains and Ikit himself with those Warp Lightnings. Everything else, it's been all hands on deck win. Well, not a win yet, but certainly trending in that direction. Nice Howling Warp Gale just to freeze those Fire Leech Bolas in place. Not that there's really a lot of follow-up, but I guess just to keep them from diving and blocking Mazdamundi. Yeah, as these last few Triads try and pursue with Ikit himself. Chieftains getting lit up by Fire Leech Bolas, and we do have some Croc scores rallying to the cause as Skaven get a big chain route going, so definitely not a win yet by any means. As the Skaven, we're going to fast forward through some of their leadership issues. One chieftain does manage to hold the line momentarily as the rest of the Skaven infantry kind of rally back to him, all while Ikit is just continuing to chase. Mazdamundi off actually does truly rout him and is going to try and chase him off the battlefield, so let's continue fast forwarding there. As the Skaven infantry make a stand, but the terror of the Bastildon is too much for them, although they're able to finish off, for the most part, what's left of the Croc scores. Bastildon actually holding its own there against the Chieftain as Mazdamundi continues to get chased off here. The two Chameleon Skinks do manage to make it over here as well, trying to interrupt, but out of ammunition, they're forced to fight in melee. Yeah, the Bastildon against the Chieftain here, despite the fact that the Bastildon's just got way worse stats overall. It's, of course, immune to flanking. Means even as it gets surrounded by multiple units here, it's still going to continue fighting. And just the fact that it has so much HP left, definitely a problem. But once Mazdamundi's truly off the field, leadership flips. Finally, for the first time, the balance power is showing in Skaven's favor. And as Ikit Claw comes back, army losses kick in, so a little bit of an anticlimactic kind of chasing, routing units end, but that's how these battles go sometimes, and That's how you should play if you want to win, definitely, in this type of situation. So credit to Sage there. Beautiful job by Ikiclaw landing those Warp Lightnings directly on Mazdamundi's girthy head. And, yeah, the Chieftains also. One of them actually is the one that got the value somehow, interestingly enough. The other one didn't. Interesting. Yeah, very interesting. But the Triads also great pick here. Used as they should, not necessarily as frontline infantry, but just kind of anti-large support all over the place. Plague Monks was an interesting choice too, even though they didn't pay for themselves. Still very solid. Poisonman Globes also didn't pay for themselves, which is surprising to see. But Rat Ogres do a decent job. Again, raw value not that great, but tactically they definitely did what they needed to. Croxigors, decent value all around. Definitely paid for themselves. Mazdamundi not so much. I mean, granted, he's quite tanky, but surprisingly, the banishments and other kind of AoE damages and stuff in his own attacks didn't end up netting him that much value, which I think ultimately is what ended up costing Lizardmen here. Like, it was probably very close, but just not really much in the way of anti-large AP, which, granted, Skaven don't have a lot of large armored units, but I would say the Bonebreakers and the Doomwheel both fall into that, and Ikiclaw in particular is quite dangerous. The regular Doomwheels you don't really need to worry about, but yeah, we go ahead and take a look here. There was something else I was going to take a look at the cost. I can't remember now, but anyway. Yeah, Skaven have such a great variety of different things you can do and play with, even though their play styles, you know, don't have any, like, cavalry, limited in some certain ways, but just generally, I would say the Doomwheel of Ikit, only 1550 for him on the Doomwheel base, which is actually incredibly cost-effective. If you think about some of the other kind of monster caster lords in the game, with the kit he had here, I think he had all this, so not even 2500, so I mean, it can be actually really good value. Flensing Rune, of course, is probably arguably even better. Like Death Frenzy, I think he might have got one good cast there. It's fun, and it's nice in certain situations, but Flensing Rune, I mean, definitely competitive way. So if you were to say maybe you could cut unlimited power as well, I don't know, it does give you extra winds of magic, but the miscast damage is risky as well. Something like this, you know, maybe cut Storm Demon, you can get him down to around 2000, no problem. Just go Flensing Ruin. Like, I've seen people go with a very minimalist kit down to 1700. Becomes extremely cost effective, considering you can easily get like 2000 to 3000 damage with this guy pretty consistently. Use him well, and of course, going so cheap allows you to go super wide around him. Chieftain, that's the other one I was going to take a look at. So the Chieftain on the Bonebreaker. Anyway, as you think about Skaven single entities here, I mean, even the Mutant Rat Ogre is, I mean, technically the stats are a little bit better in some ways, but in particular the fact that the Bonebreaker Chieftain has 70 armor for 1000, it's really cost effective. It does take one of your character slots, which is a little bit rough. Skaven have very good characters in general, but, and of course you also factor in the Guardian, which can synergize great with Ikit or any other characters. The Shield of Distraction is also a nice little area of effect debuff. Skaven don't have a ton of those, but -5 melee attack is always nice, especially considering it's only 100 gold. So, I mean, 1250, 1400 if you want to grab Skaven Brew, definitely not bad. Power Grab also, again, if you're worried about your Lord getting sniped, you can take this. I don't know that you necessarily need to, but it's certainly extra 100 points if you have it. Definitely could pick it up, but yeah, 1350, like 1000 to 1350, depending on your kit, realistically is pretty solid overall, I would say, for a single entity with this kind of killing power. So definitely Skaven, you gotta find those units which are cost effective and then just support them with lots and lots of chaff, which is super loreful and accurate, I feel like. Definitely the faction plays how it's supposed to, I would say. I don't know, you guys let me know if you feel differently, but hopefully enjoy. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again, we'll see you next time.